Welcome to Metal Wani Vitek here with one and only JJ of Discharge. How you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Just a bit rough late night.
Definitely. Now, end of days. Eight
Yeah.
years since the release, of your previous one, Desensitize. How excited is the group, keeping in mind that a 4 decade long journey is still there, kicking ass?
Yeah, everyone's really happy with the album. Everyone in the band loves the way it came out. We think
Hmm.
it's some of the best stuff we've done, especially in a long, long time. So, we couldn't be happier with the result, really. It's been great.
Absolutely. And, obviously you joined the band in 2014 and it's been, 2 years that you've been with them now. So how's it been, so far with the guys? I mean, they've been there for, like I said, 4 decades. How does it feel to be with those who basically the creators of a genre indeed?
Yeah, it's great. You know what I mean? And it's a bit validating, really. I mean, it's just, for a band like that to, have Discharge ask me to come sing for them. That's great. It's an honor really to be asked to sing for such a great band.
Absolutely. And be keeping the 8 years in mind, I mean, are you aware of the reasons why it took such a long time for the guys to write an album, or was it because of the departure of the vocalist? It kind of, added some more years?
I don't really think there was any real reason for it. It was just mainly complacency. They just kind of, I think they got lazy a bit and just got used to just basically, playing gigs and festivals and whatnot. So, it just wasn't really something they were thinking about doing.
Right.
Just,
And
it was complacency, really.
totally, man. Now, end of days. I've been listening to it from past couple of days. I mean, you guys are doing what you do best. That's fucking destroy. An absolute chaotic album. I mean, how happy are you personally with the album? I mean, because this is the first one for you with Discharge.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I love it. And, as soon as we got it back, after it was being mixed and everything, I mean, I haven't stopped listening to it. And, I've been recording music for a long time.
Hmm.
And, I'd have, if you do something that's bad, you know it's bad. And you don't
Right.
even want to hear it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you do a bad recording and you just kind of want to toss it away and never hear it again. But, this album, I haven't really stopped listening to it. To be fair, I'm really proud of it.
Awesome, man. Good to hear that. And obviously, you guys have unleashed New World Order and Hate Bomb as well. They're already out. Fans are digging it. But for you guys, have you tried to figure out how your fans are responding to the new material?
I mean, just most of everything we've read is, it's mostly been positive. I'd say it's been about 99% positive.
Cool.
And, there really hasn't been any negative feedback. It's people are digging it. And, that's great. Can't complain about that.
Indeed. Now, 15 songs on an album, and we know that you guys don't compromise in terms of quality. So there are those short ones, crisp, precise ones. So how was the songwriting process this time? Because, like I said, it's long gap. So was it done in bits and pieces, and then you joined in, or was it done like from last maybe a year and a half or 2 years?
No, it was probably about a year after I joined the band. It was
Hmm.
about a year after I joined. We just, because we talked about it, like, we really need to get, some new material out. And so, we talked about doing a record for, quite a while. And
Hmm.
finally, we just started having rehearsals strictly to come up with new music.
Right.
And, we'd only have one rehearsal like every few weeks or so just to mess around, come up with new riffs. You know what I mean? I'd hear the songs and the choruses. I'd have something pop into my head for the vocals and, on the choruses. And, most of the lyrics I wrote literally minutes before going in to record them.
Cool.
So, I had all the choruses and the song titles, but it was just I basically had to write all the verses around the choruses, and it was really just I did that kind of last minute job really. It was just minutes before I went in. to do it.
Oh, awesome. Because, I've been listening to the album. I mean, those who have seen you guys live, they know that the kind of speed, the aggression, and, the perfect atmosphere of the entire live setting is insane. But for me, who hasn't seen you live, all I am doing is, shouting, screaming in my basement here with hate bomb, hate bomb. So, it's cool to, kind of, I sing along to these tracks. Now, that's how, amazing these tracks are.
Yeah, yeah. It's they do stick with you, as chaotic as it is, and however you want to label it, you know what I mean. The songs do kind of, they stick in your head a bit, you know what I mean. It's, right. I think a lot of them are quite memorable, you know what I mean.
Definitely, and about the production on this is really what a punk, a hardcore album is all about. That's raw, loud, distorted, organic as hell. So that's something which is pretty much expected from Discharge. So for you guys, was the production done, by the team itself, or you guys hired a producer to do it?
No, we pretty much produced it ourselves, really. We recorded it, and I've never liked recording digitally.
Right.
And it was my suggestion to go to a local studio that I know recorded in analog, which is the big old, the old reel tapes.
True.
Those big tapes that you used to see. This studio still does that. And, so we recorded the whole album in analog. And, we basically produced it ourselves whilst we're in the studios.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a bit of a problem at the end. There was some problems with sound of the bass and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was sent off to Peter Tagtigren.
Okay.
Yeah, in Sweden. And he finished off the mixing for us.
Cool.
And yeah, it just, he did exactly what, we wanted to do. And, he's done a great job on the sounds.
Awesome.
So,
That's
yeah, really happy with it. It's but none of it's digital.
Yeah.
It's all recorded on old, the old analog tape.
That's the beauty, because these songs are meant like connect your guitar, the cable, and boom, there you go. It has to come through the amps.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. So for your vocals, I mean, it's amazing to see how they keep the level of aggression which are coming out of the riffs, and also the entire arrangement itself is amazing. So for you personally, you must have pushed yourself on this album to give that Discharge feeling, that vibe coming out of the mic to your fans.
Yeah, I mean, this was my first album with Discharge, and I wanted to make it a good one. There's no point in doing anything half-assed, you know what I mean? True. So it was just, I mean, to be fair, it was just, there really wasn't much to it, as far as, I would just hear the music. I would always write lyrics after I hear the music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because the music creates the mood.
Yeah.
It kind of creates the vibe, the music. So, I would kind of write lyrics around the vibe and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So, everything was done after the music and whatnot. And, I just did my best to make the words fit, the way they should and whatnot. So, but like I said, that was all really a last minute thing.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's cool to hear that, because the choruses, or even like the song title itself, have that sing along, like Meet Your Maker. I mean, I'm singing that along, or like I said, Hate Bomb as well, or even Rape and Pillaged. So they have that sort of a sing along factor, which is very important. It's like you guys are gonna play a show, and you don't have to sing; your fans are gonna sing the song.
Yeah. Well, it's it is funny, how you say sing along, because I mean, listening to it, it's just shouting, and it's like, it's really not sing. If you actually listen to it, it's really not sing along.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's kind of intended to do the complete opposite of that. It's
right.
It's not supposed to be catchy, but it still is. Like you said, it's the song titles and whatnot, and the chorus of the songs, they do kind of stick into your head.
True. Definitely. You've been with the band for 2 years now, and the guys have been there, for decades. So has there ever been moments where, they've told you about the revolution they created back in the day with, being all about that hardcore punk, thrash, death metal, and, they were like superstars, when they formed it, and even bands like Celtic Frost sort of considered them as idols. And, you also know that Metallica, Anthrax used to cover Discharge song as tribute. So were there any such moments where you heard from them about the legacy of Discharge?
No, it's they're really kind of humble about it. They don't speak about it. They're not like, oh well, we invented this or we started this or that. They think it's funny, really. You know what I mean? They're just we're at the end of the day we're just a punk band, really.
Right.
And it's just like when they hear like some big band covered the song or whatnot, they just kind of think it's funny, really. Like, what I mean? They're like, kind of like, why does anybody want to cover our songs? We're just this like punk band that makes noise. You know what I mean? So
right, and you guys have this, this tagline called, make noise, not music, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's it. It's there's always the kind of motto within the band, this destruction of the blues scale. You know what I mean? That was
Right.
kind of like the whole thing.
Absolutely. And how do you guys look at the bands that have come out now? I mean, all the punk bands have been there from 2000s, 2010s. I mean, is there something where the guys feel that, man, there are people still keeping that legacy alive, or you feel that it's just no more?
Well, no, it's definitely, I mean, we don't really so much follow new bands and whatnot, but I mean, it's great. It's still going, but the only problem with a lot of new bands that are coming out is, we're not hearing much that's different. We need some stuff that sounds a bit different.
Mm-hmm.
It's normally a lot of stuff comes out and it's just like, you kind of, it's like, well, it sounds exactly like this band or that band, or
Right.
people just want to compare it to something. You know what I mean? But it's, in a genre of music, especially punk rock, which is known for basically 3 chords. There's really only so many variations of 3 chords you can play. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's
Minimalistic
it's
approach.
well, yeah. I mean, it's going to be hard to be, a punk band and be original. Because a lot of it's been done. So, but there's still the possibility out there. I mean, every now and again we do see a band that's they're a bit different. You know what I mean? And it's nice. It's nice when you see someone doing something a bit different instead of just sticking to the punk by numbers thing.
Absolutely, man. So totally. So what about playing this live? I mean, I'm sure people are not going to forget their earplugs at home, because this is a must-live experience of, hearing you guys play these new tracks. So, any tours coming up? Obviously, I know you are going to tour states with EyeHateGod in April or in May. So apart from that, any European tour coming up?
There's talks of European tour. I mean, I can't confirm it at the moment, but there is European tour being talked about. But nothing's official at this point. So
Okay, so but you would be doing, I think, a couple of weeks in States next month.
yeah. We're doing a tour with EyeHateGod, Toxic Holocaust. I think Iron Reagan,
Ringworm as well.
Yeah, Ringworm. I think they're doing some dates as well. So it should be pretty good.
Awesome, man. It's good to hear that. And, I hope to see you guys live in Europe this year, come and play. So, before we conclude, JJ, how about you define the sound of End of Days in just one word or one sentence?
One word: apocalypse.
Apocalypse. And if you have to say in one sentence?
One sentence, I would just say, be prepared. That's my sentence.
Awesome, dude. Good to hear that. And, good luck with the release. Good luck with all the shows coming up. And, I wish you recovery as well for your sore throat. And thanks, man, for taking some time to have a chat.
No problem. Thank you.
Cheers and have a great evening. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.